My name is Virpi. I am the owner of Business Illustrator Ltd, which is a company specializing in explaining complex topics in a visual way, and in visual content marketing as well. So if you want to communicate with your audience on a regular basis on social media, for example, you need content, obviously, to do that. So I can turn some of your messages into something a bit more memorable, like visual, like comic strips or cartoons or infographics. BusinessIllustrator.com is a website where I try to explain how visuals can be used in communication, especially content marketing, but also in internal comms, where you kind of have to, often senior management want the staff to understand something like the new strategic direction and and they might send the staff like a 10-page document explaining how the company is changing or the organization is changing, and nobody's going to read that realistically. I mean, or very few people will read it. So I kind of try to find examples of where visuals have been used in a very kind of effective way, especially when it comes to kind of complex, abstract information, because those are that kind of information it's very difficult to use words to explain something that you can't see, and a process, for example, or as I mentioned earlier, a strategy. So if you can kind of somehow visualize that, it's much easier for people to understand it, and it's also, I mean, people can't resist visuals. It's just the way the human brain works. So if you see a kind of eye-catching visual about something, that you're more likely to look at that than a long page of text. So I'm trying to find examples of where that has been done well. First of all, I mean, I have to kind of clarify what I mean by infographics, because there are different types of infographics out there. You've got, most of you probably seen kind of this vertical long image that you see online these days, with some stats and with maybe human figures here and there. And then you can also see infographics that are more like data visualization, where they put a bit more effort into kind of visualizing huge chunks of data, and a lot of the infographics are actually quite just random collections of facts, really. If you look at them, there's no story there. There might be a pie chart here, another graph here, and it just it's eye candy basically. But when you've read it, when you've gone through it, and you kind of try to remember what did it actually say, you go like, no, what, I don't know. I don't know what the main point was. So I kind of specialize in having that main point in the infographics. So I don't even claim to be objective. I'm not being objective. I'm collecting information. I'm putting information into a story format, and story is always objective in one way or another. Subjective. And so my speciality is that infographics that tell a story, and I might actually not have that many stats in there, or I will put them in there if they are relevant to the story. But I would kind of like to differentiate what I do from the kind of data visualization infographics, which is like an art form to itself. I think they're not. The thing is with charities is that they are often a bit scared to experiment, and video is a very safe option. So a lot of charities produce videos, and your average charity video, if you go on YouTube and just see how many views they get, there aren't, I just look at those figures and I go like, why do they do this? Because it's not it's not cost effective, in my opinion. Of course, there are big non-profits that have the resources to kind of create really, hard-hitting good videos. But most charities are kind of, I think, wasting their time in trying to mimic the kind of, we should put so much resources into video, and then there are, because you probably know that it's easy to film a video, but it's difficult. But what the hard bit is to plan it and then edit it so that somebody will want to watch it. And sometimes video is great, from a community event, and people who took part in that event want to see the video, and that's fine. But if you want to communicate something to a kind of wider audience, especially people who are not your supporters yet, then charities are not really using photos, for example, properly. They're using they could get a bit more creative with photos, and illustrations, illustrations very neglected communication tool, even though a lot of charities deal with quite abstract issues that would benefit from that kind of drawn approach or graphic approach.